This is Mainstreet with Gary Allen. Now, here's Gary.
And good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Tuesday's edition of Mainstreet. Gary Allen with you, as I am every Tuesday afternoon at 2 p.m. We've got some interesting guests coming up in the future, but we'll talk about that later on in upcoming shows. Before I introduce today's guest, which is Cathy Rollins. She is CEO and president of Standing Room Only Productions. And I'll tell you a little bit about her before I bring her on. I want to thank my executive producer, Rick Delvecchio. I also want to thank Michael and Grant Miller for allowing me to have this platform right here on Community News Network. I also want to thank my producer, Julian, and Andres for always helping me out and making sure that everything is tucked away in the right place. And I also want to thank our community sponsors, the Japanese Gardens of South Florida, as well as the Elks Lodges of South Florida. Thank you so much for your continued support of keeping us going. And you notice I have the Elks little banner right behind me. I always do put it up, and I always have it behind me. I hope you've all had a wonderful week since the last time you were with me. And I know that we've got some great shows coming up into the future. We'll talk about that as we move along. But first, let me introduce my guest for you today. Her name is Cathy Rollins. I've known her a number of years. She's a talent agent. She has also been a friend of mine for a number of years. She's booked me on a couple of occasions. As I said, she's the president and CEO of Standing Room Only Productions. She's not only the owner of the corporation, but she's a producer, a writer, a director. She's worked with a lot of the major corporations as well as private parties, putting together some great events. She's got one coming up, a comedy event September 14th that we're going to be talking about. She's connected well in the show business community. She has traveled the world. She's a world globetrotter. And she was a talk show host at one time where she had some great luminaries on her particular program from time to time, and we're going to talk about that. So without further ado, would you please welcome my future bride and CEO and president of Standing Room Only. Would you please welcome Cathy Rollins?
I knew I wore white for some reason. Well, thank you so much for having me.
That's gonna for all your friends that are watching the show, they're gonna go, future bride. What is something going on that we don't know about?
Yeah.
By the way, if you want to make comments, folks, if you're watching this program, on the right-hand side of the TV screen here, there on your computer, there is a comment section. If you want to make a comment, ask a question, please do. We're always open to that. Cathy, you have traveled the world, as I said. You have traveled the world. You have lived in London. You lived in Spain. You lived in the Philippines. Does that give you
by accident?
Does that give you a unique perspective, not only in the way you've raised your children, but the way you look at the world and how you ran your business? Does it give you something different perspective that other people don't necessarily have?
That's and it was purely by accident. It wasn't that I chose to do that, but it was I happened to marry someone who was an engineer. I worked in a very big engineering company in New York, and I married this man who ended up being my husband, but he was from Brooklyn, and he's an international engineer. The company built refineries all over the world. And even though I knew that's what he did, I didn't know that right after we got married in April, that September, we were heading off to Spain to live. And that happened to marriage. Went to Madrid for 2.5 years, and then to England for London, because the company, when you refineries, apparently it takes 2 to 5 years for that to happen, to design them and then to build them. So 2.5 years in Madrid. I had 2 children in those 2.5 years. And then we went to London for a year. They were building a refinery in the Philippines, but the design engineering was going to go on in the London office. So a year in London was great. Every Wednesday I went to got babysit. I had with a lady friend. And to the Philippines for 2.5 years. That was awesome. And then when after the way home, we stopped in Hawaii and lived there for 4 months on Hilo. And then we ended up going back to Spain for 3.5. And my third child was born there. Same hospital, same doctor, same.
Oh,
Yeah, and a
so
lot of site. I bet
yeah,
Bastille, Paris, in Munich, and Hong Kong to
yeah, yeah,
what is it in China?
yeah.
Yeah.
I had
So
opportunity. I
yeah,
had a lot of
but yeah.
I had a lot of
I'm sorry, I can't
opportunities
hear
to
you.
travel. Yeah, well, you're going in and out a little bit. I had a lot of opportunities to travel as a young man because my dad was a captain for Eastern, and my two uncles, one was with Pan Am, the other TWA. So me and my siblings and my cousins and stuff, we got to travel a great deal, and it does give you a neat, unique perspective. Now, when I was in
It's
Vietnam, that was a perspective that I personally never wanted
a
and
great.
would just as soon forget. I
Yeah,
think we
Chinese
lost
New
you.
Year's. That's what I think. But no,
Yeah.
travel gives you a great. Okay.
No, we've got you, but you're on a delay for some reason.
Well,
You're on a delayed thing there. Yeah, you're going in and out, and it's freezing up.
I'll keep
Can
telling
you?
you your pick.
y- Yeah, your phone keeps
Yeah.
going in and
Well,
out.
I'll try to
Going.
speak slower, and we'll put more spaces.
Yeah. Um,
Okay.
when
Shall
you
I keep?
decided you were divorced, you came back to the
Well, I'm all
United States.
connected. I mean, my phone's powered up.
Yeah. When you got
Oh,
divorced,
I was here when I
and
got divorced. Yeah.
yes, yeah, and you decided to open up a company. Now, I know you studied business and theater when you were in college, but studying theater and business in college and then actually putting it into the mainstream is a totally different world. What made you decide to open up a production company in a business that is about as risky as it gets?
Yeah. Well, here's my education is more in business because my parents were very old fashioned. My parents were both from Italy. They were from Italy, and they met in New Jersey from the same town. My up was fashion of something. Mention it like, oh, that's what I'm going to do. I thought I'd be an artist, sort, but so being raised not only in a very strict Italian family in New Jersey, by the way, I was born in Newark, New Jersey. My parents, in business, for
Kathy, your phone is going in and out
number.
an awful lot. We're not hearing an
So,
awful
anyway, this
lot of
was
you.
really patient. Uh, oh,
Kathy,
I don't know
your
what to do.
phone is
Should I try to expose my phone more?
I don't know. I don't know because I know we went through
It's
this.
still doing
You
that.
don't. You're not. Yeah. You're not using it on your PC at all. Your computer at home.
I shut the ring.
No,
Shut
we're
the.
not hearing you. Yeah. We're not hearing much of you at all. We're just hearing delays and the
We don't
screens are freezing up.
know if it's going in and
It's
maybe
going
I
in
should
and
take
out.
it out of things. So maybe. Okay. Still going. I'm
Okay.
not saying anything until now.
Okay. Now it sounds better. Yeah. It's not going in and out of. It's not going in and out of freeze frame. Okay.
Maybe I took it
Um.
out of this folder.
Yeah. 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 Uh. When you decided to open up a production company, that's not an easy task.
No,
No,
you're
no,
right.
it
Happened, of course. I got and I never had a job other than I'm cutting out again.
yeah, you're cutting way
Yeah.
out again.
Well, I'm not speaking. I'll speak now. Okay.
No,
Well, I wasn't saying anything. So what do I just do like to
uh,
do
well,
this round? things
you
like that to do. I had been in a
Kathy, you're cutting in and out too much.
well, I'm
We're
not
not getting any.
speaking, so I
Yeah, but I mean the picture's freezing.
at all. Okay, well,
Okay.
I got it connected and it's charged up.
All right, let's see if we can do that. All right, so when you opened up the production
I tell
company,
you,
how nervous were you when you opened up the production company?
it was because
No, no. I'm sorry, Kathy,
we
it's not working.
get there. Sure. And really, that was the beginning. And so when I started doing that, the best thing was to make it legal. You know, you have to have a business. So with a business background and liking doing these mobile theater, we're doing a lot of Neil Simon plays in all the big condos here.
Hmm.
And that started it. So in the beginning, I was just booking plays. I was in them and I booked it, hired people, you know, put it together and got it around. And then from that, singers, dancers, and musicians, blah blah blah. And it branched out. A day, I about 2/3 or 3/4 of what I do. It's murder mysteries, comedy weddings. I mean, I still do book acts, but a lot of things are theatrical things, and the luncheons, the comedy club, which I hope we get to talk about, and authors. I promote authors. I like to do a luncheon promote authors. I call it romancing the book.
Yeah,
So
and
yeah, so
yeah.
I love this theater, communications business, and that's how that came to be.
Okay, let's talk about
I'm not talking now.
okay. Um, let's talk a little bit about the business today. I know that the pandemic really hit the business very hard, and I know the pandemic has changed the business an awful lot. Um, what changes have you seen? And I know there are a lot of companies that are no longer in business. A lot of agents have gone out of business. What kind of I mean, what has it done to the industry, and how has it changed the industry?
Well, it actually threw it upside down. I think the entertainment business was really, I mean, many businesses suffered entertainment big time because you- me, it was happening. So then, of course, we're doing this podcast, something like what you're doing today, and so very effective. Uh, but many people, you're right, decided, oh, I'm going to do this. I even thought, am I going to continue doing this? Maybe should I go work at a country club, you know, as a social
Hmm.
director or something? Uh, but oddly enough, you know, sometimes things are meant to be. Uh, uh, I was able to hold on, you know,
Hmm.
and but it was very difficult. A lot of people, like I say, dropped out or did something else, and entertainers, you know. So it was very bad. But for the entertainment business, for sure, many of us, and I did too, consider doing. You know, we have a license requirement here in Florida, very strict license required every 2 years, and it's an and I myself thought, do I really want to continue? I mean, this may never come back. Things may not, you know, you build it up for years, make contacts, and then when it does come back, you have new people and new things to develop. It's like start over. Somehow for me, it was able to, I was able to hang on and still do it. And it is coming back. I'm doing, you know, booking entertainment the normal way. But it was very stressful and very, something we're not very sure of, but
Hmm.
it happened. But
Well, I
for
mean,
everyone.
for a lot of people that I know, my friends in Vegas who are performers, um, if they didn't have any savings, they were in real serious financial trouble. I know there was the $300 a week thing that the government was dishing out, and then there was the unemployment. Of course, the unemployment in the state of Florida is one of the worst unemployment. The DEO is the worst, absolutely the worst. I still have friends that are waiting from when the pandemic started to get their money. They still don't have it. But if you didn't have any savings or anything, it really, really played havoc on you. And a lot of people, I'm sure, there are a lot of acts that no longer exist, no longer want to be part of it. I know some that live in Las Vegas, where I came from when we first met. How have the acts been as far as booking now? Now, I know you also used to book lookalikes because you used to book me as Jay Leno. How is that world moving along nowadays?
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, it's still there. It's still there, but I think around like the late '90s and the early 2000s, it was big. It was big. I mean, most parties and meet and greets, oh, they wanted the lookalikes. I kind of feel that it kind of tapered down. It kind of tapered down. Uh, Clients still ask for it, but not as much as before. In the early 2000s, it was booming. But there's not a big, we talked about it the other day, like the Marilyns or the Elvis. Elvis will never die.
Yeah,
He's
yeah,
probably the
yeah,
most popular older like. But yeah, it's not as big as it was. But you never know. Things come back. Maybe later on, it'll
yeah.
come back. But it's huge years before. But it kind of
I know.
it kind
I
of
have a
tapered
friend.
off.
I have a friend of mine in Las Vegas who does a Donald Trump, and there for a while he was working on a regular basis, but now every agent that he had has dropped him. They said nobody wants a Donald Trump anywhere at all anymore because of what's going on since he left office. And I talked to you the other day, and I was greatly surprised by this because Frank, Sammy, and Dean, the Rat Pack, even though they never liked that moniker put on them, they didn't like it at all. They were very popular when it came to bookings back in the day as a lookalike. Are they? And you told me that that's sort of slacked off quite a bit.
The Rat Pack, yeah. I mean, the Dean Martins are still out there, and you say Trump. Of course, I know several Trump impersonators are quite good, but more political figures have become. There are people that are doing other, like Biden and different other politicos or people are impersonating. I found that entertainment has gotten creative, and so maybe people were not, as far as lookalikes, were looking for the show business people. People are impersonating, talk show hosts or political figures. It's kind of branched out. It just kind of nothing stays. It kind of
Yeah,
weaves a new web.
yeah,
But there are
absolutely.
political figures, Biden. There are people doing Biden, and still Trump's around. Yeah.
Yeah. You're listening to Mainstreet. Cathy
But it
Rollins is
takes
my
it's
guest. She's the president and CEO of Standing Room Only. Gary Allen with you as I am every Tuesday at 2 p.m. right here on Mainstreet and the Community News Network, or as we call it, the C News Network. Um, are is the money still there? Is the money still there? Because when we were back when the heyday, the money was very good for performers. Is it still there, or is it a little bit less now? But you'll take it to work.
No, no. Well, here it was good, and I with after COVID, I think people are, it's getting better again. Yeah, it kind of flatlined a little bit, but I find that everything's gotten more expensive. But yeah, people are making pretty good money. I think
Yeah. Yeah.
now. I mean, it's
Are
never as
you?
much as you
Yeah.
want. But, it is good. If you're good, there is work. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. That goes without saying. If you're good, you're going to find the work. The work will find you. It's like
Yeah,
what Jay Leno
you
used to. It's like what Jay Leno used to say to comedians. If you're clean, you'll work everywhere. If you're dirty, you're limiting yourself to how many places you can really work. But that was in the day when television was kind of
you know,
everything.
Oh, when we do our shows, our interaction shows, my people, they know we do nothing political, nothing offensive. We're not there to offend anybody. We want them to have a good time and go home and say, I
Hmm.
had a great time. We don't want to bring anything. We don't want to insult people or take a side on anything. We just want to keep things neutral and respectful and let them have a good time. So you have to you can't be you can't throw you can't just cater to one audience because it might bite you in the butt later on,
Yeah.
appeal to the masses. Entertainment is there appeal to the masses, not to offend, but there are people that do that, and they're known for that. But I try to keep it pleasant and unoffensive to everybody, and I think that's what the majority of people want,
When
don't
when
you?
someone calls you up on the phone and they say, "Hey, Kathy, I saw this great act the other night over at so and so's." Do you go over? I mean, do you still go out and look at new acts and up and coming acts?
Well, not always, because you can't always do that. Today they want a video. I want a current video. That's one thing. And then you see what they've done, who they've worked for, what kind of credits they've got. And then, before everybody was running around seeing, but now you don't have to do that with video and TV, with the pod
Mhm.
and the computers or the YouTube. The thing with YouTube, people don't realize you put something you're doing. If you update your information, take the old stuff off. Don't keep old, because it's like anything. People get better at what they do, so keep it current. But yeah, sometimes I'm invited many times to see a show or see a certain act, and if I can go, I go. I think it's good, but you kind of check it out and research it, but there's a
Yeah.
lot of great entertainers out there, and they have gotten very creative with all the technology we have now in presenting a show. I find entertainers have gotten the good ones, they got very creative. And we spoke this about the other day, successful entertainers and even the big names. I found them to be the most interesting and pleasant people. The when I TV in the late night, they were successful. They loved what they do. They got enough work, and they were just nice. So they weren't trying to prove anything. There was no phony baloney. It's those quasi people that are, kind of make things
Yeah.
more than they are. But most successful people, they're very happy and they're content. And like I said, they're happy with what they do. They get enough work and they appreciate it. And so it's not always a mean business. I've met a lot of nice people that are
Oh
very
no,
well known.
there's a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, I grew up in the business with my uncle Tubby, being a comedian on Miami Beach, and when I lived in L.A., I would meet. I mean, one night I went to a hot dog place on oh God, I'm trying to think of the place. Anyway, it was called
Miami
Pink's.
Beach.
No, it's called Pink's Hot Dogs, and it's right there off of Abrea. And who's sitting there? Right after they got through taping their show was Carol Burnett, Lyle Wagner, Vicki Lawrence, the whole bit. I'm
Oh,
sitting there by myself. I looked over at the table. I said, "Hi guys, I really enjoyed the show." They said, "Great." Carol said, "Come on over and join us." And it was like, we got talking. I
oh,
told them who my uncle was, and she knew who my uncle was. And the best and the different actors that I worked with over the years, whether it was on Hill Street or St. Elsewhere or some of the movies I did, the actors that are real performers, that know their stuff, that are competent at what they do, they've been doing it for years, they're steady on course, they're nice as can be. It's the like you said, the quasi, they're not really sure, they know they
those
may
wannabe,
not be the
they're good, but not good enough. Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
they're filling in the blanks with what they want it to be, and it's really not. Now, if you're good, you're
yeah,
good. But a lot
yeah.
of most very successful entertainers, and really in most businesses, they're secure with themselves. That's the whole thing: being secure instead of envious or
Yeah. Oh,
affections.
absolutely. Oh,
They're not
absolutely. And you,
people. Like Curtis was just a nice person. Joan Rivers.
yeah,
I'm sorry.
I once asked Jackie Gleason that question. Did you coin the phrase "be nice on your way up" because you're going to meet him on the way down? He said no, but it is real. Now, Jackie was not the nicest person in the world to deal with. I'll be honest with you, folks, because my mother dealt with him. She decorated his home a couple of times, but nevertheless, it is what it is. I just enjoy being around performers. You have written and produced murder mysteries. Are they coming back now?
Well, uh, then just like the look like when they first were popular, they were very. But I get to do them a lot. I've done a lot of themes. It depends on what the group wants. We do a night in Casablanca. So generally, people that are under 45 years old, they don't even know what the movie was. But so, Murder by the Mob, Murder at the Movies, sees Once Upon a Crime. I've done at least 20, 25 different themes, but people do like interactive entertainment. There are three kinds of people that go to these interactive shows. I always tell my people there are three kinds. The person, as far as a murder mystery, that is watching every clue and every word. They're following actors into the restroom because they're going to find some little clue. And then you have the part-time involvers that are involved in they're eating into their friends about what last weekend. And then you have the third person at an interactive show, the guest. Leave me alone. You can see it on their face. Leave me alone. I'm having a good time. Do not pick on me. Don't ask me anything. So the actor has to be able to see that. And you don't want to push yourself on people that are having a good time. They just don't like to get mortified. They're not like, we don't care if somebody jumps in and asks us a question or come on, let's do that. But there are people that are shy and they don't like to, but they like to observe and be in those environments. So in an interactive show like the Murder Mysteries, you have three kinds of involved people and everything in between. But yeah, there's interest in them. We do all kinds of themes. But yeah, because like they say, everybody wants to get into with interactive shows for audience members. They like to get into the act, and that's their opportunity. So we kind of read it and we bring it in when we do that. It's fun.
It's funny. It's funny.
Wedding, we do the wedding.
Yeah, it's funny when I perform, I always wanted the house lights up. I wanted to see the audience because it brought the audience in. Now, when Engelbert came on stage or Tom Jones that I was working with, no. They wanted the lights down. They wanted that spotlight on them, blah, blah, blah. I wasn't worried about that. I wanted to have fun with the audience. I wanted to talk to the audience. I wanted to get to know the audience. And speaking of comedy, you've got a night of comedy coming up September 14th. The dinner is at 6:30. The show is at 8 p.m. At pronounce the name of the place again.
It's called Galuppi's.
Galuppi's.
I stumbled on the place about 5 years ago. Galuppi's is the restaurant. It's in Pompano here in South Florida Beach. And I've been for the last 5 years. I've been doing murder mysteries, the comedy writing, and so forth. But we're doing our first comedy show. I have two extraordinary maybe Carl Remy. Carl Remy.
I've heard of Carl. Yes, I've heard of Carl.
Just made a movie. Yep. And Josh Rogan. Rosen. It's funny. He does Rosen. If you come up, he does a political people. He'll do Biden and a lot of different people. But yeah, it's a dinner and a show. It's at Galuppi's, and I wanted to let you know that Galuppi's is a very nice place. The reason I picked it, I stumbled on it because I was doing an event for someone. It's just great atmosphere, great food. I love the people that I work with there. And it's funny, that's their family name. Apparently, a Mr. Galuppi started the place 25 years ago. Now his son runs it. But it has all the things we need for dinner shows. And we're having it on Wednesday, September 14th. It's a dinner show, and people can call or they go on to galuppis.com.
Julian, you want to put that? Hold on a second, Kathy. Julian, you want to put that slate up there of the comedy show for me, please? Put that slate up there that we have the picture for the comedy show. I hope Julian, you got that one up there? There you go. There you go. Now go ahead and pontificate. Go ahead, Kathy.
Okay, it's Lucky's place. It's Carl Remy and Josh Rosen. Galuppy.com/comedy night. That's right away. But it's $5.
Yeah, it's 50. And let me fill in the blanks. Yeah. Yep, and it's $55 for those who didn't get a chance to hear it. And Cathy will be hosting the program, and you can reserve a seat now at 954-785-0226. That's 954-785-0226. Or for more information, call 954-791-7555. And you'll get all the information you need there. free parking, cash bar. The food is excellent. You know, grilled salmon, chicken marsala. I knew him. He was a comedian in the Catskills, Chicken Marsala. He was always a funny guy. And then you're going to have dessert, you have drinks, you have everything, and you get a great show. Two very funny young men. And that's September 14th. The dinner is at 6:30. The show is at 8. It costs you $55 to go and have a great evening with friends, family, and you get to see Cathy and you get to hear two great comedians. Not only that, but you enjoy a great meal at Galuppi's. All right, let's get back to the regular part of the program. Okay, you also were a talk show host at one time. Cathy, you were a talk show host at one time, right? Cathy, don't move your phone. Cathy, don't move your phone around. There, you were a talk show host at one time, right? We can't hear you. We can't hear you. Did you turn off the sound? Julian, is there something wrong with the sound? Julian? Julian, is there something wrong with the sound?
There's a problem with the sound. It's on her end.
Okay. All right. Cathy, we can't hear you. Did you turn the sound off? Did you turn the sound off on your phone? Cathy, I can't hear you. Cathy, I don't know what's happened, but we can't hear you. The sound is not coming through. You want to try to link back in, Cathy? You want to go out and come back in?
Oh.
Wait, there you go.
Oh,
there you go.
I'm back on?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, now you are. I don't know what happened. Anyway, let's get back to the normal kind of stuff that we're talking about. I think it's going to be a great comedy night for you there, and I wish you well on that. But you were a talk show host at one time. Cathy, the voice is gone. We can't hear you. All right. At this point, Cathy, I don't know what to tell you. We can't hear you at all. There's no sound coming through. Okay. All right, Julian, I think we're going to have to conclude that, and hope that maybe we can get Cathy back at another time when we have some stuff going on. As I said at the top of the program, we have some interesting guests coming up for you. I've reached out to Channel 7, and we're still hoping to hear back from them about having Belkis Naray and Craig Stevens come on, a couple that have been in the South Florida market now for over 25 years together, and Craig has been in the market celebrating his 30th year on television here at Channel 7. I remember when they first got started in the business. It was absolutely wonderful. It was fantastic. Next Tuesday, we'll have the Elk Show, as always, at 2 p.m. We're always looking forward to that, having members of the different Elks lodges throughout South Florida on with us, and my co-host, Rick Del Vecchio, the executive producer of this particular program. We're always excited to have that going on. Things that are going on in the world, I guess we could talk about that. For those of you that are New York Yankee fans, the Yankees aren't doing so well, but eventually you knew the hot streak had to end at some time. My buddy Joe Casal, who's a major Yankee fan, who's been on this program, I know he's probably not happy about that at all with the way things are going. But it's baseball. You get off to a hot streak at the beginning of the season. You kind of cool off midway through it. You come out of the All-Star break and you're as flat as a surfboard. I mean, there's not much you can really do. I mean, I'm a Philadelphia Phillies baseball fan, and somehow we always manage to get off to an interesting start, but it never seems to really last. We either get off to a slow start or a fast start, and like I said, it never seems to last. Football season is right around the corner for those of you that are fans or Miami Dolphin fans or Florida Atlantic fans. I don't think Julian, does FIU still have a football team, or did they disband that?
They still got their team.
Yeah, they still have it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's got to be optimism down there for the Miami Dolphin fans, but with Tua and everything, hoping that he's doing a whole lot better than he has in the past. But there's always constant people wanting to have somebody else besides Tua in the lineup, and the offense and the defense. I wish the Dolphins I wish them well. I'm a Colt fan myself for obvious reasons that I won't get into over the phone, over the television here. But I have been a Colt fan since 1962. It gives you an idea of how old I am. And I've always been a Colt fan. I have my reasons for it, even as a little man and growing up in South Florida as I did. Things around the world. I'm not going to get into the political arena because it's boring to me. It's not something I choose to talk about. We will have, like I said, next week, the Elks show will be on. I'm not sure who our guests will be, but for those of you that have never been involved with the Elks, it's a wonderful organization. It's an organization that helps veterans, helps families, contributes an awful lot of donations to veterans that are having trouble adjusting to the world. Once you're in the military and you come out and you've been in there for a long period of time, there's a period of adjustment, and sometimes it doesn't always go well. And the Elks are just one of many organizations in South Florida and throughout the country that helps veterans, helps their families. There's grants, programs that go out to high school students and college students. There are many functions that the Elks do for the citizens of their communities. And I'm very proud. I'm a member of the Elks myself. I need to be still sworn in, but technically, I guess I'm there. I'm very excited about that opportunity. And there may be some good stuff coming up there as we move forward and we move down the line. Julian, is there anything that you'd like to talk about while we're on the air here today?
That's a good question, Gary. That's a pretty good one.
Well, I mean, you're a young man. You're going to college down there in Miami, right?
Yeah, I'm attending Miami-Dade right now.
What are you majoring in? What are you majoring in?
Film production. I'm all into the movies.
Oh yeah, well, don't get. You can have my SAG card, my AFTRA card, my equity card. You can have all of that anytime you really want.
That would be great.
You can. Yeah, I mean, I tell you, growing up in South Florida, Julian, it's a lot different now than it was when I grew up down there. It was a different world. We didn't have cell phones. We didn't have computers.
Mm-hmm.
When you went into math class, going to school, I went to Hollywood Hills High School. But when you would take a math class, you didn't have a computer. You weren't allowed to use a little calculator. It was a piece of paper, a pencil or a pen, and your brain, and that was it. And that's how you got through math. Now, I was terrible in math. I basically got through algebra in college and in high school, and that was it. After that, it was like, okay, I'm going over here, I'm majoring in journalism. So what the heck,
Right. No, we take it for granted nowadays, for sure.
Oh yeah, we do for a lot of things. As a matter of fact, that's what I was discussing with Cathy, that if you don't have the opportunity to travel the world and see some of these third world countries and see the poverty levels that they live in, and the poverty levels that our Native American friends live in,
Yeah.
our Black community they live in, and white communities that live in. We're not all wealthy. I mean, look at the rents in Miami alone.
Right.
$2,000, $3,000 for apartments that 15, 20 years ago were going for maybe $800 or $900 a month. Maybe. I mean, it's just outrageous. I don't know where it's going to stop. Um, I don't know what's going to happen. Healthcare issues. I
Yeah.
mean, they're constantly going up. I mean, I know Andres doesn't smoke. At least I don't think he does. I think we talked about it one day off the
Uh-uh.
air. If you don't smoke, you got it licked because smoking it is beyond normal hazard. It's terrible for
Yeah, it
you,
is. It really is. Truly.
and the health cost issues come up later in life, not when you're your age or when you're in your 30s or 40s necessarily, although it can. But
Hmm.
when you get to be my age or a little bit younger, that's when the
Catches up.
health issues, yeah,
Yeah.
emphysema, cancer, you name it, it pops up. It's just
That's a wild
I'm
card.
yeah, my mother died from cancer, and many of my friends have died from cancer,
It's
from one
horrible.
form of it or another. Yeah, it's really not a good thing. But let's talk a little bit about the Community News Network. You have a lot of great programs that are on here, and I'm very grateful to Michael and Grant Miller for allowing me to be part of this wonderful platform. I wish Michael was in the building. He could come in and we could talk for a few minutes
I could
because I
actually get him if you want.
yeah, I'd love to have them come in and talk about the community news and how people can get involved in it, and the different shows that you put on, and how people can get a show on the network, and how we can
Yeah.
produce a show for you. We can produce shows for you, folks. If you want to produce a show, the Community News Network can produce a show for you that you can have, and you can have to show to your friends, and you can show around and stuff. But if Michael's not doing anything, I'd love to have him come in and we can talk about some of the possibilities of
Absolutely.
people
Give
being
me
part of the network.
give me a minute, Gary, and I'm gonna try to get him.
Okay, sounds good to me. Let's talk a little bit about South Florida. I live here in Central Florida, not Orlando, but I live over on the Cape side of Florida, and I'm looking forward so much to coming home. I have my brother Rick, Denise, who lives down there, and my nephew and my niece, Ricky and April, and the grandkids, and I'm so looking forward to seeing a lot of my friends. Alex Silverfox, who was on last week, who was a chef, and what a wonderful gentleman he is, and some of the other people that have been on my program in the past. My very dear friend Dave Lamont, who's going to be starting, I guess, a new show here before too long, all about the Miami Hurricanes, where I went to college, where Dave went to college. And Dave's an incredibly talented man. Jeff DeForest, can't wait to see him again. Dan Levitard, hopefully he'll have 5 minutes for me at some point when I do manage to come home. But there's many reasons. I've been gone for 20 some odd years living down there, and I really miss it an awful lot. And I miss an awful lot of the people that I am so looking forward to coming home eventually when I can afford it. Right now, it's like, even though I'm working, it's the prices are just astronomical. What they want for you to move into a place and keep it going and keep moving forward. But we're working towards it. We're getting there little by little. Um, this program we're hoping to expand out before too long. We're waiting to have a thumbs up from the Elks organization. Hopefully, if we do, this program will be having on once a week with the Elks from different lodges around Florida, South Florida, Central Florida, Northern Florida. And we're so looking forward to that opportunity if it presents itself to us. Um, it's beyond anything that I ever dreamed of, that I'd be on a network such as this. And again, thanks to Michael and Grant Miller for giving us this platform. This is a wonderful opportunity. And like I said, I'm trying to get Ray Abruzzo on again from The Sopranos. Ray has been filming a movie, and we're waiting for him to come down off of that to find out what's going on. Adrian Paul from The Highlander. I've reached out to his folks, and they're going to get back to me with his upcoming dates. And we're working on some other people around the South Florida community, as well as actors that I know, to come on this particular program and have a wonderful conversation in an afternoon. Ron McGill, of course, was on just a couple of weeks ago talking about Zoo Miami, which is a wonderful place. I hope some of you folks get in there and go to the zoo and go to some of our sponsors here on the Community News Network and frequent our sponsors, because that's what keeps this network moving forward. We really do appreciate that very much. Getting on to some other subject matter. as we were talking about just a little bit ago, football and everything. Tua is settling in, I guess, but he's always got to look behind him. The quarterback in Baltimore has made some kind of overtures that maybe Miami would be a place where he'd like to land as a quarterback. So, it's got to be uncomfortable for somebody when somebody's looking over your shoulder, looking to replace you right away, and you've only been with the team a couple of years. It'd be like you were just hired as the new senior vice president in charge of something at a company, and suddenly somebody's overlooking your shoulder, and they just moved into the company, and they're already looking at your job, which is not uncommon in the business world. But it's got to be uncomfortable for Tua. But he's a professional. He has to understand it is a business. It's no longer college, rah rah, all that good stuff. This is a business, and decisions are made. Sometimes you shake your head and you go, "Why was that done? Why was that person traded?" Sometimes there's many reasons behind why someone gets traded, or someone isn't drafted, or why they aren't kept around. Sometimes it can be as easy as the manager or the representative of them. Sometimes it's their attitude. Their personality doesn't fit the team. Sometimes they want more money than is possible to give. If you go to some of these small market teams around the country, whether it be baseball, basketball, football, they can't all afford what you fans would like to have on your team. I mean, there's a limits to what people can afford and what they can't afford. The Miami Dolphins can afford a lot more than probably what they're paying for at this particular moment. But let's see if the team does well. I hope they do. They've got an interesting season coming up. And there's also the possibilities, at least that's what I'm hearing from friends of mine in the NFL, that the New England Patriots may very well not be as good as people think they were, or as people think they are. So we will see what happens, with the Miami Dolphins, and we'll see what happens in the AFC East. And we'll see. Kansas City is probably still the number one team in the AFC. I'm hoping my Colts will do something in the South. Well, I see a chair, a nice gray chair, and we'll see what happens with that.
Hello?
Andres, what are you doing?
It's Julian.
Oh, Julian. Oh, God, you look just like him.
So,
Hold on a second. My phone is great.
But he's tied up right now.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll continue to move forward. I was just saying to the people out there that, Tua's got to feel extremely uncomfortable. He's been with the team a couple of years, and already the quarterback out of Baltimore has made overtures this morning and yesterday that he wouldn't mind landing in Miami because he's from Miami originally.
Really?
Yeah, he's made overtures with a what you call it? Not an email he sent, but a tweet that he sent out that maybe another team would be a good place for him in Miami or someplace like that. I don't know. So
yeah, that's gotta be a tough situation. I mean, I really have my hopes up very high for Tua this season.
Well, I mean, they put some players around him. I was just saying to the fans out there that, teams around the country that are small market teams, or whether it be baseball, football, or basketball, they can't always bring in the players the fans would like to have for one reason or another.
That's very true.
They just can't do it.
Yeah, it's just salary cap is tough.
Oh, yeah. And there are a lot of teams that are above the salary cap before the draft begins, whatever particular profession it is.
Tax too.
Yeah. And there's a luxury box tax that has to be paid. There's all kind of stuff going on that people don't understand. It's, when we were growing up as kids, it was fun because we didn't think about the business side of things. And then as you get older and you get into the world, you realize it's a business.
Wait a minute.
It's a business,
Sure.
Your team trades away this player and you go, why? He was a very good player. The Magic up here, the Orlando Magic basketball team, a team that should not even be in the NBA. They're so bad. I mean, they're so bad. No, they're one of the worst teams in the NBA.
But they made the finals back in, I think, 09.
Back in 09. They haven't done anything since. Every time they get a good player, or they get a good coach, or they get a group of players that are good, the team won't pay for them once they get advanced to a point where their new contract is coming up. And the coaches, they go through coaches like I go through water. You know, they just
That's
recycle. I think they're one of the franchises with the owners, which is the excuse me, the DeVos family. I think they're only interested in just fielding a team. They don't care if they win or they lose. They really don't. They say they do. Everybody says, "Oh, we want to field the best team we possibly can," and then they pick somebody from nowhere, and the guy gets to be good. And as soon as he gets to be good, they go, "Well, he wasn't fitting in, and we traded him away," or you know,
that's
the,
true. I mean,
the
they've had amazing picks, especially with the centers. I mean, they had Shaq and Dwight, and now they have I think they drafted Cole Anthony a few years ago and Mo Bamba. They have a pretty solid team. I mean, very youthful, but playoffs anytime soon, I really don't think so.
No, not when you're up against some of the teams in the NBA in the Eastern Division that they are up against, like Miami and Boston and Milwaukee and other teams like that. Those no,
Even
you're not
Brooklyn,
going
too.
anywhere. You know, I remember when Shaq came out of LSU, and I actually one night I was at a Magic game, and I was down on court because I was invited with a friend who had courtside seats. He was a very, very wealthy man. I couldn't afford, and I actually stood next to Shaq, and I was like this, "Hi,"
That's crazy.
you know, and he put his hand on my head like, "Okay, little fella, you know, you're doing all right," you know. So it's kind of sports is interesting. Everybody looks at it like from a fan because they are, but yet they are involved in the team. That's why if the fan is taken from the word fanatic. Your emotional involvement in the team, and you want to see your team do good. It's like Joe Casal, who was on this program not long ago, and a couple of friends of mine. They're major New York Yankee fans.
Oh, New Yorkers, they are fans that you don't want to mess with.
No, you don't want to mess with them at all. And the Yankees right now are in a slump. They'll win one game and lose 5.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
I'm very disappointed with the Yankees, though. I gotta say, I mean, they've had John Carlos and Aaron Judge for I think a few seasons, and you'd think that they'd make a run for the World Series at this point.
Yeah. By the way, somebody from the Miami Community newspaper, a friend of yours is that Julian? Yeah. Hello, Gary. Somebody from the Miami Community. Hello, whoever is writing that, the mystery writer. Is that Julian? Yes. It's probably Andres that's writing this. I probably, you know, it's probably him.
Julian himself.
You know, but you know, it depends on a lot of things. You know, I said when I started talking about the Yankees, they're not unique in that getting a hot start at the beginning of the season, or a mediocre start, then suddenly they get hot, and then right after the All-Star break they start to fold. It happens. You cannot remain hot all the time. There are very few teams, except maybe in college where they only play 11 or 12 games, where you go from start to finish where you're number one.
It's tough, especially in Major League Baseball. I mean, how many games is it? Like 162,
162 games, yeah.
Yeah.
And I got it explained to me once by a friend of mine who was a Major League Baseball player, that going into the season you're going to probably lose 30 to 40 games. Naturally, it just happens. You're going to win 40 games. It happens. It's that other 40 that you're battling for, that you're trying to get a hold on, so you win this was before wild cards came along, so you win your division, or you win because when I grew up as a young man, there wasn't divisions in baseball.
No.
It was the American League and the National League, top to bottom, all the teams, just one league.
That's weird.
Yeah, and there was no playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
There was no the East meets West and all this stuff. If the Yankees won the American League and the Cardinals won the National League, that's who met for the World Series.
That's how it was, really?
Yeah. Back in the day, there wasn't all these divisions and everything else. But I'm talking in the 60s, when your mom wasn't probably even around yet. Your mom wasn't even around yet. And in the NFL, it was the AFL and the NFL.
Right.
The American Football League and the National Football League. And then when 3 teams left the NFL to join the American Football Conference, then what it was called, and that was the Colts, the Steelers, and the Browns, the old Cleveland Browns.
Right.
And yeah, they joined it, but a lot has changed since then. Do you know that the average salary of a football player back in the 60s
Oh,
was probably somewhere in the neighborhood between 25 and $30,000?
that's ridiculous.
The average salary. Now that doesn't mean your Bob Greaseys of the world, or I mean Larry Zonka got a little bit more, my brother got a little bit more, Johnny Unitas got a little bit more, but not a whole lot more. It was only in the mid 80s when television came along that suddenly, boom,
Right.
all these salaries just grew, and the unions came along and bargaining agreements and this and television and this rights and that rights. That's when the players started to really make the
How
money.
much is the average salary now? Like 500K?
No, probably more than that. I think the guys that are, well, the minor league baseball players don't make a whole lot, but
Well,
the guys,
NBA is about like somewhere around that number. Well, not average, but I meant minimum. Minimum, my bad. So the minimum in the NBA is about like 500 to 800K. So I
Yeah.
mean, NFL, I would assume is about the same, right?
for some, yes, for some, no. If you're on the taxi squad, you're doing better than they used to. They just got a bump up and raise this year.
Right.
But generally speaking, the sports athletes didn't make a whole lot of money for a long time. As a matter of fact, the NBA back just before Bird and Magic even came into the league, those games were on a tape delayed basis, played late at night.
Yeah.
On your they weren't
I
live
remember
like they
hearing
are
about
today.
that. That's insane.
Yeah, and I mean, the part of it had to do with the networks. There were only 3 networks back then: ABC, NBC, and CBS. You know, there wasn't CNN, Fox News,
Right.
MSNBC. There wasn't the ESPN.
Our local one, Bally Sports, I think.
Yeah, that's owned by
Fox, right?
Sinclair. That's by Sinclair. I think they own it, don't they?
Oh.
Doesn't Sinclair own them or something?
I thought it was I know originally that channel was Sun Sports.
Yes,
and
it was.
by Fox. And
Yes.
I don't know what happened with the bargaining agreement or whatnot.
I had some friends that worked there at one time, years and years ago. They no longer are there. And you know, and then Bally came along, and they're part of Sinclair, and they wanted to make it otherwise, and they own everything in the country, just about.
Really?
Yeah. But I got to tell you something. If you ever get an opportunity to listen to one of the best baseball broadcasting teams, radio and television, it's the San Francisco Giants.
The Giants?
The San Francisco Giants. If you ever get a chance to listen to their broadcast team, it is with John Miller. They are the best there is in the business. There's also a young man who works for ESPN who you hear every once in a while now, but he started in Miami, and that's John Shambi.
Oh, yeah.
He started at WQAM way back as a board op and worked himself up. And the late Hank Goldberg, I was talking to him one day, and he said, "This guy's going somewhere." I said, "No kidding. He just knows his stuff." And they call him Boog Shambi, but his real name is John Shambi. He's from the Philadelphia area. He's one of the best young broadcasters around. Davey O'Brien, who used to do Marlin games way back in the day. Because I remember when the Marlins first came around, never thought it was going to happen. But Wayne Huizinga got the Marlins going, brought the Panthers in. Then he owned the Miami Dolphins for a while. I mean, I think Wayne has passed on now. But yeah, if it wasn't for Wayne Huizinga, you wouldn't have hockey, you wouldn't have Major League Baseball.
That's crazy.
Oh yeah.
I wish the Marlins were playing well, though. I'll tell you that.
Well, I don't know if it's their farm system. I'm not that close to the team. I have a friend who is, but it's very, very interesting to see exactly what's going on with them. I pull for them, except when they play my Phillies, but I pull for them, but they just don't seem to be able to going. Craig Medavini's an old friend of mine, and he's a hard worker. But I don't know. You got to have the pitching and the hitting, and it's got to all come together. You got one pitcher that's good, who's probably maybe a Cy Young winner this year, Sandy. But I don't know. I don't know what's with their farm system. I don't know if it's the management. I don't know what's going on.
I think it's the management. I mean, I heard that Derek Jeter, like when he was actually like a part owner, that it was a whole fiasco, and it was very complicated that I was reading.
Well,
Stuff.
it is what it is. But listen, we got to get out of here.
All right, I'll go back to the computer and wrap up the show. It was nice for you to bring me on for a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. Would love to have had Michael come on, but maybe next time.
Yeah, for sure. Next time I'll get him. All right.
All right, let's put a ribbon around this one. I hope everybody's enjoyed the show so far. Sorry about earlier with Cathy. We'll see about getting her back and have her on the particular program to talk about the business. And I want to thank all of you for taking a few minutes out of your day to join us here on Main Street. Gary Allen with you. I want to thank Rick Del Vecchio, my executive producer. Again, Michael and Grant Miller for the program, the platform here on Community News Network. I also want to thank Julian and Andres very, very much for all their help putting this program together, as well as our community sponsors, the Japanese Gardens of Miami, as well as the Elks Lodges of South Florida. Next week will be our Elks show, which we have on once a month. We might be able to make a very wonderful statement at that particular time. Until then, would you please do me a favor? Take care of yourselves and each other.